You know what it is? You had to start off with a smile. I know people, are saying I'll be going live late, but I get it in when I fit it in. So, it is what it is. I'm giving value regardless of the fact. So, good night, good evening, good morning, um, good afternoon to wherever you are. Hopefully, you've had a great Tuesday. It's Real Estate Tuesday. So, we're talking about real estate today. I am a real estate professional here in Memphis, Tennessee. My name is Toria Howard. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. So, what up, though, to all my Detroit people? Love my city. Practicing real estate here in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm also a financial literacy um, consultant, and I do business funding. But we're talking real estate today. We're talking real estate today, and let's talk about it, right? Real estate is always a topic. It's always something that needs to be talked about when they're talking about building wealth and things like that for your family, or for just for you if you don't. Some people don't want a family, but it's one of those foundational wealth builders that people tend to have in their portfolio. So it's a good thing to know, some of the different things. And I'm not going to discuss the different avenues of real estate. I'm just talking about home buying 101. This is going to be part one of the home buying 101 seminar, I should say, in a sense. And, you know, I just feel like people need to understand that it definitely is a process, and, trust the process. And it's okay, to go through a process. Everything has to go through a process in order to get the fruit. The house is the fruit. So this is what we're talking about today. So drop a one in the comments. I know I'll be saying it backwards, but drop a one in the comments if you're new to my live. Drop a two if you're watching it live. Number three, if you are watching the replay, I should say. And thank you for tuning in. I know it's late, but we're gonna get it in anyway. So one of the things I always talk about, here in Memphis, is the real estate. Um, One of the things that people don't understand about Memphis real estate is this. It's fascinating that Memphis real estate grows 1 to 5% every year in appreciation, regardless of a down market, up market, or whatever the case may be. And I know, people are deterred from investing here and things of that nature because of the crime. It's crime everywhere, but people are still going to need a place to live. So, especially if you're vested in Memphis, if you're going to be living in Memphis, if you're going, you're going to be here, it's good to, get into this real estate space because a lot of out of towners are doing it. So, let's talk about some Memphis real estate right quick, right? So, you have 278 new homes on the market. So people are still selling. And this is up from when I did this back in December and January and February. It was like in the 150s, 170s, something like that. It's almost 100 more houses on the market now because a lot of people put their homes on the market in the summertime and in the spring, summer, especially during this part of the season. So from usually end of April, because it's still kind of warm here, from end of April all the way up until September, you'll see an influx of houses being on the market. Now I know there is a shortage of inventory, and that's everywhere. And that's the thing. Um what's up though? It's what up though. What's up though. Come on. Come on, babe. You know better than that. Taught you better than that. But it is it's not a surplus of homes on the market. You have to be creative, right? You have to be creative in what you're thinking, what you're seeing, what you're doing when you're talking about real estate, because sometimes you have to go and make it your own. Some people don't want that. Some people want new construction, but is that in your budget? And then we're going to talk about that today. So 187 homes were sold this past week, and 134 were are pending. And my broker, Andre Pruitt, has had several closings, this week. So, proud of him having several closings this week. It's always awesome to hear when your mentors and things of that nature are doing well for themselves. So, I think he said he got 3 closings tomorrow, and then he had like 1 or 2 today. So congratulations to Andre Pruitt. Great to be attached to somebody that's doing it really big. It's hard to have 3 closings in a whole week, let alone, well, I should say it's hard to have 3 closings in a month, let alone a week. So he's doing it. So he's part of this number in here. So let's talk about the mortgage rates right quick, right? So a lot of people are up in arms about the mortgage rates. Yeah, they are higher than the rates from 2 years ago. Of course, there are no 0%, no ones, no twos, no threes. So you have to be mindful of that when you're talking about the affordability of a home. So if you depending on your credit score is what determines your interest rates. And now the interest rates have increased like a whole percentage since the beginning of the year. And they're going to continue to fluctuate. So it doesn't matter about the interest rate. Like Dave Ramsey said, buy the real estate anyway, right? So you can always get in the home and refinance it, whatever the case may be. So if you have a 740 to an 850, it doesn't matter, because your interest rate is going to be the same. So between the 740 and the 850, it's a 7.2% interest rate right now. That's nationwide. Now you might have lenders that have different rates and things of that nature, but your credit score does determine your interest rate. So if you had a 739 to 720, it's at 7.4%. If you were at a 719 to a 700, you had a 7.5%. If you had 699 to 680, you had 7.8. If you had 679 to 660, you're at 8%. If you're at a 640 to 659, you're at 8.1. And if you have a 639 to 620, you're at 8.3. But the thing is, if you're renting, the thing is, let me say this. If renting works for your lifestyle, then it works for your lifestyle. A lot of people don't want the responsibility of a home and all of that. They might be in and out of town, or they move. If you move a lot, but it's still good to buy real estate because it still, appreciates, to get gains equity, all of those things. So, but if it fits your lifestyle, it fits your lifestyle. But it's always good to buy real estate because once you get the home, you can always refinance it to a lower rate once the interest rates go down. Because if you're renting and your rent is steadily going up, your mortgage goes down the more you pay it, especially if you're following your amortization schedule. If you're following your amortization schedule and putting an extra principal payment on there, you can, pay off your mortgage between 7 to 15 years, depending on how long you do it. By just adding that extra principal payment, the principal payment is actually less than the interest payment. If you look at your amortization schedule, if you're a homeowner, look at your amortization schedule and pay an extra principal payment. Do some sacrificing right quick. If you want to lower your mortgage, something's in my eye. If you want to lower your mortgage and shorten your time on your mortgage, do that for 6 months to a year and see how quickly you'll see your mortgage rate drop. But if you're renting, your rent is going to steadily go up and up and up. Usually, typically, it's between $100 to $200 every year. $50 is the lowest I've heard people go up, but the highest is like $100 to $200 every year. So just think about that. And then you're investing 100% in renting and getting no return. If you invest 7% into yourself, you're going to get a return on your investment. That's smarter than renting 100%, paying into somebody else's investment, and you're not getting anything out of it. So that's the thing. You have to weigh your pros and cons. If renting fits your lifestyle, if you move a lot, or whatever the case may be, hopefully you're investing in something else that's giving you a yield of 6 to 10%, then great. But real estate is one of the best investments that you can buy because it will pay you. Renting does not pay you. So you have to make sure that you understand whatever your circumstances are as your circumstances. But the rates are high, yes, but it's still a good time to buy real estate all the time. So what we're talking about today. So home buying 101, for those of you that want to be homeowners, listen, the first and foremost thing, right, that you need to do, you really need to dive deep into your finances. First and foremost, you have to dive deep into your finances because of the fact that your finances are going to be combed through and through and through. You need to know what's coming in, what's going out. What is your budget? Do you have a surplus? Do you have all of these things lined up? There's a lot of money that is being given for people to buy homes right now, but your finances have to be in order. So, you have to have at least 3 months savings. You got to have some money in the bank. You might not even use it or need it or whatever, but I know in Shelby County and Memphis, Tennessee, they're giving people $25,000 to buy a home. They're giving away money. They're doing it in Detroit. They're doing it in Atlanta. They're doing it all across the country. But if you don't have your finances in order, you cannot take advantage of that. The government has this money sitting in these counties, these states, these cities, and nobody is using them because your finances are not in order. So, what's the first thing you have to do? Look at your budget. How much do you have coming in? Include, your if you're a W-2 employee or a 1099 employee, include whatever that income is, plus any supplemental. If you're getting child support, alimony, you have a business, if side hustle, whatever, whatever extra income that you have, and you might have, if you have children that you're taking care of that's getting Social Security, that is included in your income as well because it's considered your household income. So whatever your income is, it's your whole entire household income is going to be considered. So then you sit down and what is your expenses? Because of course, buying a house, you're going to have to sacrifice, some things if you have not been keeping up with your finances. And that's a thing that it's nothing but a little short sacrifice for a little short period of time. There's nothing wrong with it, right? You use what you got to get what you want. In this case, you do it to buy a home. So look at what you have going out. Of course, you got your major expenses like your housing expenses, such as your rent, lights, all your utilities. Then you have to look at your credit cards, your or I should say your like automobile payments. That includes insurance, that include maintenance, that includes anything extra. I know some people have like extra warranties on their car. All of that is your expenses, your credit cards, your loans, any debt that you are looking to pay down. You need to include all of that in that budget. Also, your recreation, your hair, whatever beauty that you do, all of that. You're going out to eat, groceries, all of that. So sit down and write down those things. If you have not done that, you have to see what you're spending. And a lot of times, I know I do a lot of takeout because I'm on the go and busy, and I need to be better in preparing. So if look at your finances, if you want a certain amount of house, you have to cut back on your expenditures. And if you can cut back on your recreation, some of us can cut back on beauty, such as me, because I don't know how to do hair. Okay, I listen. I can get away with my nails. I can do a little shape up, a little clear here and there. But the hair situation, I can't give up. That's just me. So if it's something that's a non-negotiable that you cannot give up, then that puts that on there. But your recreation includes if you smoke, if you drink alcohol, you have to account for everything because that's going out. And then, of course, what's coming in is at the top and all the things that's going out. So assess that. Are you saving? Your savings should be a part of your budget as an expense. That you should always $5,000. You should always have your saving come. You got to pay yourself, however much that is. If you're not disciplined to save, this is what I used to do. If you get direct deposit and um your employer allows you to do multiple banks, then I used to take my savings right out my check. So I didn't see it. I didn't have an excuse. And I put it in a bank that it wasn't accessible. I didn't have a card to it. It was far away from home, like all of those different things. I did that when I purchased our home. I just made myself be disciplined because I know I'm always find a reason to spend that money because I was a spender and I love to go shopping. I love, things. So when I was planning on buying our home, I did that. Put it into a bank account that I didn't have access to. It wasn't easy, and I had the money saved. Um, that should be off the top. The savings is paying yourself, but please don't put it in a regular bank where you only getting 0.01%. Find a high yielding bank account that you can put that in, so you can, the longer that if it sits in there, you're gaining more than 1 cent a year. Okay. So you're looking for banks that have at least 4 to 5% savings account rate. That's a good rate. If you get something that's 8 to 10%, hey, that's a different type of fund. Do you? But you need to have a higher yield than that 0.01% that they try to give you. Don't get fooled by that and put all your money in there because they're investing your money while it's sitting in there. So that's what you do. Now, so when you see the landscape, because you got to have a blueprint. The blueprint of buying a home is your finances. If you don't understand that, then you're got to change your mindset. You got to get your mind right. So the blueprint is your budget because you know what's going in, what's coming in, and what's going out. And you have to know that. So next, if you have debt that you need to pay down. So typically your debt to income ratio, DTI, is 45% of your income. If you have, a credit score that's lower than a 740, and they want 40%. If you have almost perfect credit, well, you can have a little bit more debt because that means that a lot of times, so if you have a lot of debt and still, a really high, excellent credit score, then that means you have a lot of good debt. So that's not a problem for lenders. So, you can have 60% usually. So if you have to pay down debt, find a way that works for you, right? I always give my clients an option. I use a bottom up effect or a snowball effect. So a bottom up is you choose, because some people just can't afford to, do the higher ones and chunk it out. So what you do is you start with the lowest one. If you have the lowest bill, what you would do is you'll take the minimum payment and pay a little bit more, whatever extra that you could put on it, and pay that off. And then you'll still pay like the minimum plus like 10 to 20 extra dollars on the other ones, because you don't never just want to pay the minimum payment. So, that is approach. So once you pay off that smaller bill, that same amount of money, this is where discipline comes in. That same amount of money that you paid that bill, you're just going to move it up to the next, bill, the same amount you were paying, because you're not missing it. You're not missing it. So you're going to move that same amount of money that you had for that bill and pay that plus whatever you were paying for the other bill, because you're not missing it. You was already paying it. So don't choose to, you're like, oh, I got some extra money. Be disciplined in this season and be able to understand that you use that money, pay that next bill off. And you do the same thing all the way up until you get to the highest one, which one ever that is. And pay, you will pay it off. Some people, like the bottom up approach better than the top down. So this the snowball effect is you start with the highest interest or the highest balance, and you pay, the minimum plus some, depending on what you can afford. If you can put an extra $100 on it, they put an extra, 100 or whatever it is extra, and then you just move it down just like that, the same way you'll do the bottom up. So that's how you can pay off some debt. That's just a little tidbit, a little nugget there. So once you make your budget, you see what's coming in, what's going out, see what you can take out. Because a lot of us got a lot of subscriptions and all of that type of stuff that we need to like get rid of, that we're not paying attention to, we're not really using. A lot of that can add up. So, look what you can sacrifice right now and what's non-negotiable. If you feel like, going out once a week is something that is a non-negotiable for you, then just trim down how much you spend when you go out. or you're going to have to trim it from somewhere else. So somewhere, some people, I'm not saying like sacrifice everything that you do, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have some non-negotiables. Like for me, I got to get my hair done. Point blank in the period. Because I cannot do my own hair. So I'm sorry. I'm just not, people like watching YouTube. No, I'm not I don't watch the YouTube to do hair. I don't, even though I'm on my YouTube channel, that's not my thing. That's not my ministry. My ministry is to educate people and, look good while doing it while somebody else does my hair. So, shout out to Sheena Hines, who did this wonderful color. But anyway, whatever your non-negotiables are, then you put that on there. And that's part of your budget. Savings is part of your expense. That's your blueprint. Your budget is your blueprint. Then you have your debt. You're going to pay off your debt. You already got your savings goal built into your budget. So that's taken care of. So now let's look at your credit report, right? Oh, the credit report. I know, right? It's crazy. So a lot of people are so stuck on the score. The score is important. It will get you in the door, but it's all about your profile. And you have to look at your credit report as it being, your financial checkup, right? What's the checklist? So you need to have a mix of installment and revolving credit on your credit report. The lenders are looking for you to have that mix. Point blank in the period. What's revolving? Credit cards. Things that have interest that accrue interest every single day. Revolving, like a revolving door. Installment is something that you pay basically monthly that is not based on your utilization. See, the revolving is based on your utilization. You're absolutely right. Buying a house takes a lot of work. It's possible, but you have to be willing to put in the work. You're absolutely right, Felisa. Thank you for saying that. It is work. And I know it sounds like a lot, but you can do it. So, do you have top tier banks on your credit report? That's the question. I know a lot of people get tricked, and I'm sorry, but you get tricked in using these subprime lenders like the Chimes and all them other ones that people don't recognize, the First Premiers and the Credit Ones and all. Those are subprime lenders. Or I should say creditors. Lenders are not looking for those. You need credit unions, Navy Federal being a great one. You need credit unions and top tier banks. The top tier banks, of course, are the Chase, the American Express, the Bank of America, the Wells Fargo's, those type of banks, and any credit unions. Because the reason why is because they have more stringent credit guidelines. So they know that if you can get these type of banks to give you credit, then you fit the bill. Because a mortgage is one of the biggest investments you're going to spend. I mean, they're going to give you. So they need to know that you know how to handle a large amount of money. So, Credit One, Capital One, Discover. What was another one? Can't think of it right now, but it's another one I'm missing. Those are like tier 2. They're not bad to have, but you need to be focusing on credit unions, Navy Federal being a great one. Your local credit union, especially if you're a teacher or fireman, police, or whatever, service member, medical field, because they have special funds and things of that nature for those certain individuals at those credit unions. Definitely use those. Those are credible. So get banking products from where you have your bank accounts. Have several bank accounts because you want to spread your money out. As you can see, the banking crisis, all the people had their money in that one bank, and the FDIC only insure 250,000. So if you got more than that coming in the bank, you just spread that out. Just saying, just a little tidbit. But nothing wrong with using multiple banks, and you can do the same play, right? See what they will give you. If you have a great credit score, see what they will give you. You need to build your credit, see what they will give you, right? So you're looking for personal loans, which is your installment. You're looking for credit cards. but you're looking for high um, lines of credit. We're not talking about 500 and below, 250. That's not going to get you in the house. We're talking about $1,000 or above is what you need. So, if you're building, if you have to get you a secure card, get it from a top tier bank. Navy Federal turns their secure card into an unsecured card in 6 months. One of the fastest ones to turn over, right? Um, then they will match your whatever you put on it. So a secure card, if you don't know what that is, that's your own. You put your own money up, but you use it as a credit card. But Navy Federal will take it and transfer it to an unsecured credit card in 6 months if you pay it and you're on time and everything, and they'll double it. So if you put $1,000 on there, once the 6 months is of it, you done what you're supposed to do. They'll turn it into a unsecured credit card for 2,000. So that's just something to think about. You can get a secured loan. Having those products on there from the top tier banks will help you. What you do with the loan? Oh, I'm gonna go buy some clothes. No. You go and invest it. That's what you do. You make the loan money, you make the debt make you money. That's what the rich people do. That's what they use debt for. So that's if you need to build. So, but you need to have that mix of revolving and installment from top tier banks. You know, um, let's see what I say: American Express, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, those type of banks like that. So, once you see your credit report, you have that mix of credit, you've lowered your debt, doing all those things. The next thing that you need to do is figure out how much home can you afford. And it's like, oh, that's math involved. It is. But there's calculators for that. The one I like to use is from Bankrate.com. Bankrate has it, how much house can you afford? So the calculator that I put in here, I should say the number, the default number is $100,000, right? So you can put your income in there, how much debt you have, how much your down payment. It's going to already put the interest rate in there, but you can look up your interest rate based on your credit score. All you got to do is Google mortgage interest rates. And you can see based on your credit score what your mortgage rate will be, or your interest rate will be. And then it has the default 30-year terms and things of that nature. It has a default of $50,000 down, but you don't have to do that. Usually typical down payment is 3.5%, depending on your income. So FHA has raised the income limit. So it used to be an income limit where you could not get a first-time home buyer incentives because if you have a higher income, but they've raised that. In some areas, it's over 700,000, which is in the jumbo loan category. But FHA is doing that for people to be first-time home buyers. Because a lot of people, if you make the money, you have it. So a lot of times it's just 3.5% down or 3% down. So you'll put that in there. So this is, we'll say 5,000. We just put 5,000 in there. So for this one, it's $100,000 is your gross annual income, and this is your household income, right? So like I said, I got this from Bankrate.com. This calculator. Let me go back. Once you know your budget, right? You know what's going in, what's coming in, what's going out, how much debt you have, what your plan is going to be for paying off that debt. Your savings is already attached to your budget, is an expense. And once you know what your credit profile looks like, then you go to a calculator to see how much home you can afford. You want to do this for one main reason. You don't want to be disappointed when you go and try to look on Zillow and you see all those houses that you love and you like, and then you can't afford it when you go to the lender. So it's good to get a snapshot. So that's why I said having that blueprint of knowing your finances first before you do this part would be essential. So the blueprint is the budget. Once you figure out that part, you come over and figure out how much you can afford. So for $100,000, this says if you have monthly debt is $500. That's not realistic. So we're gonna put we'll put 3,000. right? Um, why is it go away? Put 1,500. Oh, that's too much. Okay, so basically, it's crazy. Oh, hold on, trying to do this. Well, I'll leave it at $500. That's what it says. Um, so if you make $100,000 a year, then you have a monthly debt of 500. You pay $5,000 down, 7.3 interest rate, 30-year um, mortgage term. They say you can afford a $316,000, $985,000 house. Your monthly payment would be 2141, $2,141. Your closing costs will be 9,360. So play around with this calculator and know, like I said, I got this calculator from bankrate.com. Once you know your finances, like your budget, what's coming in, what's going out, that's the blueprint. Your savings is already attached to it. Then you know how much your debt is and what your plan is to pay that debt off. You know what your credit profile looks like, your score, and what you have on there. All of that. You come to the mortgage, the home affordable calculator from bankrate.com. That's the one I use. And you put in your numbers and you see how much house you can afford. Once you figure that part out, you got a little snapshot. Then go and just, peruse and see if what's in what this says. It's on bankrate.com, Rob. It's how much house can I afford? That's what the title of it is. So once you get that done, then you can go just kind of peruse and see if the houses that are on the market fits what it says you can afford. Then you will see where you are. And once you do all of that, then it's time to go to the lender. But I'm gonna end it there because I gave a lot of information and I don't want to bombard you. But I just want you to understand that buying a home is a process, but it's a great process. It's a hard process. It's a tedious process. It can be blood, sweat, and tears a little bit. A lot coming from the real estate professional like me, but it's rewarding because of the fact that you have a foundation and setting yourself up to build wealth properly if you use it in the proper way. I know you probably hear people say you cannot build wealth with buying your own home. Yes, you can, but it's just the way that you use it and how you move it around. And it don't be afraid to start where you are. That's the problem with a lot of people that's not buying homes. You have to get some experience. You know, it's a starter home for a reason. You don't have to stay there forever. Everybody want to go from the apartment to your dream home. Sometimes it don't work like that. It can, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. So you have to be prepared to understand there are ways for you to still get in, buy real estate and still get your dream home. I'll talk about one house hack right quick, right? If you know that you can't afford your, 5 bedroom, 4 or 5 bathroom house yet, then start with buying a duplex, right? So you get 2 doors for one, and you live in one side, pay yourself rent. Pay yourself rent, have the other people pay rent. Put that, and what you do is when you pay yourself the rent, that'll be your down pay. You save to put that in as savings if you need it for a down payment or whatever the case may be. But the other side is going to pay your mortgage. And once you stay in there for a few years, FHA, I think it's just 2 to 3 years that you have to stay in there. Any real estate professionals on here and lenders, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Stay in there for a couple of years, then you can keep that, move out, put another renter in there. Then you have 2 doors being rented. You have some money in the bank. Then you might be able to afford your dream home after that by using the equity from that house to purchase the other one. You just never know. Or house hack it again. A lot of people just get 4 or 5 doors, first, and then they use all of that to put on their dream home, and then they have those 4 or 5 doors. Well, we get 5 doors, you're in the commercial space, but if you keep it to 4, they use those 4 doors, that's still residential, to pay their mortgage for their dream home. The whole point is to use what you have to get what you want. Start where you are. If you only can afford $100,000 house, get the $100,000 house. It might not be in a desirable area or whatever, but especially, depending on where you are, but you just never know. You can find that ugly house on a great block. There's always great blocks in neighborhoods. If you only can afford 160, 150, buy what you can afford right now. Start somewhere and don't be afraid of doing that. Just protect yourself and know what you're doing, because you have to learn how to crawl before you walk. Because when you're talking about going from renting to owning, and the bigger the house, the more expense. And I'm gonna talk about that next week. You have to understand, you have to save for those major things that could, go wrong. But of course, you have your home warranty and your homeowner's insurance. But you still need to make sure, because sometimes you know how them insurance companies go. They always try to find a reason not to pay, or not pay what you are for the materials that you want. So you have to have something, right? So just make sure that you crawl before you walk. There's nothing wrong with having high standards. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. But don't let the nice things and wanting, because what you see out there that everybody else has that you want, stop you from starting. You have to start somewhere. Don't have, champagne taste with a beer budget. And it's okay to have good taste. Build up to it. Start somewhere. And don't be afraid to do that. And who cares? A lot of all the people that's talking about you buying a house, and it's not a $500,000, $300,000 house, six or whatever it is. I know like Vegas, like you know, average is like 4 to 600,000. 4 to 600,000 here is like a mansion, a mini mansion. But it all depends on where you live. But here in Memphis, if you can afford that 150 to 200 range, you can still find a good home in that range to start, especially a duplex, a triplex, or something like that. Make the house make you money first, then go out and buy the big house, so that house can pay that mortgage, and you can do whatever you want to do with your money. So I bid you adieu, like they say in Shakespeare. And thank you for tuning in. If you need any of my services, my link is in my bio on my Instagram. My link is attached to my Facebook live in the comments, and my YouTube channel. My link is in the details section. I am a realtor with Trust Realty Group here in Memphis, Tennessee. Shout out to Andre Pruitt, who is my broker. He was honored this past weekend, and we celebrated him. We have the new office. So if you are looking for a real estate home, we would love to have you. The grand opening for the new office is August 10th at Stogie's. So we're going to have a good time celebrating that. My broker is doing well. He's doing great things, and I'm so proud to be attached to him. So I need to be having 3 closings in a week just like him, though. So, tap in. So look, I done went over the time. So have a blessed night. Do what you need to do to be great. And that's it. That's all. See you later tomorrow. Let's go.